American accent is a very important part of trying to book those roles. You can be a fantastic actor, great person, but if you've got a dodgy American accent, you're not going to go too far. And I've had a class with Barb, and I think she's a really down-to-earth kind of teacher. She's a lovely, lovely person, and I think that's the main thing when you're trying to find a teacher in this sort of industry. You just got to find someone that you connect with.
So, Barb, how's the past week been since I spoke to you last? How's things been going for you?
Well, I still have my American accent. So,
Cool.
yeah,
Hold on to that. Don't lose it. You're saving us all.
yeah. Very excited that the new course is starting up on Thursday. So we had a fairly funny Facebook exchange with everybody. Hello, Rob. Hello, Shivi. And no, Sarah, you are the angel. Raquel, hello. God, do you have any friends here?
Maybe not. Maybe just you, Barb. Maybe just you.
Yeah, so getting excited and having this pretty hectic Facebook page where everybody's already started getting hyped for the class, which is really fun. And we have every level, like from rank amateur to people who are almost on the cusp of authenticity. So it's pretty exciting. So when I teach, I give you a slight California West Coasty bias,
Yeah.
and that, or if you have a New York bias and that's just working for you, I'll tend to take you that way as well, just so you have
Well,
a bit of regionalism in there.
Well, because that's the downfall, I think. Wouldn't it be with some actors trying to get the American accent? Is that because there are so many different types of the accent? You've really got to be quite specific with the type of accent that you're trying to learn. Because, like you said, if you're from West Coast or New York, or depending wherever you're trying to, whatever area you're trying to mimic, you've got to be quite precise with the teaching that you go about it. Otherwise, you could just get that sterile, general, twangy sound. Is that right, or is that how do you think about in that light?
Yeah, I have thought about it that way. I think it depends on the individual. I don't know if as Aussies, as Brits, whatever, Kiwis, you need to be that specific. I mean, it's not going to hurt you, but because even within states and whatever, there's sort of a general educated sound that nobody's quite sure which county you're from. Does that make sense?
Okay.
When it's more of a
Yeah.
rural accent, then yeah, we're going to get really specific with it. So a guy yesterday asked me about the difference between Wyoming and Montana accents, and he's like, I work in Laramie, and I notice it's different to Jackson, and I'm like, oh my God, like I've never had to teach that accent. People from there will absolutely be able to tell the difference in the rural areas, but not so much in the urban and educated areas. Well, let's take you, for example, the first thing I said to you when we had our first session last week was, I said, okay, so how do you best learn? I need to find out about you. I'm not going to teach a one size fits all approach. I'm just not. Even when I do classwork, I have to tailor it for every class, and every class will be different. So I'll say to you, hey, Tom, do you think you're a visual learner, an audio learner, maybe a physical or kinesthetic learner? And dominance, what's your most dominant learning style? And then I'll tailor the session according to your needs. So I think in your case, we felt you were visual, right? Is that my... Yeah, so we were writing stuff out phonetically for you, and I think that's where, we hit the sweet spot there. But I had a guy a couple of years ago, trained him for a couple of years on a couple of different projects, and it just felt like he and I were both quite frustrated. We were hitting a wall, and it turned out that neither of us knew at the time, but we found out, 2 years into the exercise, that he was a physical learner. So we developed all these interpretive dance things. Any of my students watching, you will know this, and I love you all for this. You'll know that when I go, okay, say like Bianca, or thought. So where an Australian would say thought, well, that sounded a bit British, but thought. I would say, no, you have to say thought. And for this particular student, we had to do this, thought. And then I married
the jazz hands.
Yeah, right. For you, it was jazz hands. For him, it was rainbow unicorn farts.
Cool. Each to their own. Each to their own.
So, and that helps you to work on making new neural pathways, which is what you're doing when you're doing an accent. You're creating new grooves in your brain that's going to help you with this accent. It's almost identical to learning a language. Usually the ones who are saying, oh, I need a little bit of work, it's not perfect, usually they're the ones who are most open to an American ear hearing it and saying, hey, you know, let's try this. But on the other hand, you know, some celebrities get a lot of stick, a lot of negative press about their accents. And in some cases, that's fair. But, you know, honestly, there's so much stuff going on in a film. Like, who knows what that actor had for breakfast? Who knows who shouted at that actor on set? Who knows who taught them something that they've believed was right for all these years? I mean, they're just trying their best. And even though it bugs the crap out of me when I'm watching it, you know, they really are trying their best. So when I'm back to here, the traps that people fall into here, they go too fast. That's the number one trap. So especially with that R sound, that people will try to go way too fast. So the exterior burger, let's say that you have to say that in a script. Like, that's really hard to say even for an American. So you guys
the exterior burger.
Yeah, right? How was that for you, Tom?
It's a mouthful, that one, yeah.
Right? Yeah. He looked in his exterior mirror for a burger. I mean, and then there was a script whose author may or may not be watching, who created a character called Mr. Walker. Now that's just and everybody, when I saw the auditions, everybody tried to race through that. It's not something that we as Americans race through. So hello Chani, hello Nubaki. So slowing down, that's the first one. And oh God, Craig, I love you. I love you to bits. So so when you're looking at stuff, just slow down. What's the rush? Give yourself an emotional reason to slow it down. And then the other classic mistake that I think people do is that they try to pronounce every single word, everything. And who of us in our lives ever does that, be it American, English, Australian, whatever? We don't. We take shortcuts. We try to be economical with how we speak, unless you're me and you're just talking and talking and talking. But even then, you need to link stuff. Steve Walker says, "What's wrong with the name Mr. Walker?" Good point, Steve. Good point.
Good point, well made.
I'll send you a list of what's wrong with it later. But anyway, no, there's nothing wrong. But you need to. It's really important to work on an intuitive level and listen to how people speak and where they conserve and where they link things up and reduce things and where they expand and why. What are the emotional reasons? And for beginning actors, I think that's where they fall down.
And I guess it'd be like a combination as well, like of the nerves that you feel, you know, like when you get nervous, you know, you try to get through the nerves as quick as possible. So by that, you just speak faster and all of that. So how do you try to, I don't know, ease that nerve and like kind of smooth it out so you can just kind of take your time to work through those lines? Is there ways that you have, like methods that you have with your teachings that kind of are able to really break it down and slow it down?
Well, I think again, it depends on the individual. You know, what worked for you, Tom, young Tom. Hello, Jing Xuan. Hello, Anna. Hello, Ben. And Steve Walker is saying the rural juror.
The rural juror.
You have to say that slowly. I don't know. Well, what do you think works best for you, Tom? How do you?
Well, I really enjoyed when we worked together last week. Like the actual physical, like the actual way of actually breaking the word down, almost into separate, like little different kind of chunks. Oh, hang on, Helen House just said. Helen House, the lovely. She was a teacher of mine. Yeah, back at QUT.
Yeah.
What did she say? Yeah, that's what you were saying, Bob. Yeah, when you've had a few bevies, yeah, you're able to play around with it a little bit more.
That's right, Helen. I love you for that. One of the first questions I ask my students is, have you ever had a drink or two and played around with the accent? And most people go, no. But what that does is it kind of releases your filters and allows you to play with it. And you can watch yourself make mistakes and not put a judgment on it as they fly by, and then pick it up
Yeah.
later and go, okay, I kind of sucked at that sound. Like, for example, me, I was practicing this one line, and my sound in the middle of the word just wasn't flying. And so, like the word then or something. And so I started messing around with it and got a little help from my dialect coach. And yes, I have a dialect coach too to help me with Australian, not with American. And so we played with that. And I think getting too serious about it and not sort of letting it go can really kill you, you know? And you had a good time playing with it from what I recall too.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing about it as well is playing with it and having fun and also what we did as well, what I really enjoyed, which kind of gives you that basis for freedom, was going like way too far with it, like making it a lot bigger, like really pronouncing the American, just so you can feel it and know where it sits, like in your mouth and how it feels to say, and then kind of working it back to a more naturalistic position. I think that is a really good way to kind of, have fun, like with the jazz hands, like you're not going to be doing that all the time, but it's fun to do, and it takes away the fear of it all. So, and then once you get there, you can bring it back, and you can make it more settled. And I think that's a good way to kind of bridge that gap as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, for some people, it has to go the opposite, which is fine. Some people are just way over the top and they have to be pulled back. But that's, you know, that's just a different way of working. And again, it's why you can't do a one size fits all. You touched on a point too, which I thought was really valid right at the beginning. And you talked about authenticity. And I remember, all of a week ago, but you were really concerned and quite frustrated with your authenticity. And once we started saying, hey, you wouldn't say what do you want? That sounds like you're some kind of machine. Great if you're playing a cyborg, on a sci-fi thing. But if you want to be a real person, what do you want? Sounds like you're queen, bitch, whatever.
yeah.
But I don't know how you feel about that. But reducing it and linking everything to what do you want? What do you want? And I'm saying it really slowly so people can hear that. It makes all the difference between us thinking, oh, they're not American, to us thinking, oh, okay, cool, or more accurately, not thinking about where you're from. So
Yeah.
linking and reducing, which we do all the time, you guys do it too. Go listen to American reality TV. Just be choosy with, what you want. But listen to the way that we reduce things. What do you want? Where are you from? Why are you here? That kind of stuff. And honestly, if you're asking me for dialect coaching the night before and you don't already have a good grasp on American, that's really just going to mess with your head the next day. Honestly, you need the performance. You need to not be thinking about the accent when you go in there. You need to just be performance. Drop. Americans, we in general let our tongue drop lower and go forward because that's much better.
Because the tongue is down there.
Yeah, and what you're tending to do with your lips too is you're tensing your lips up. Now try it without tensing your lips up because bingo, perfectly American. Woo!
Yeah.
Where's the
cool?
I heard, the other thing I heard was a couple of your diphthongs were out.
So diphthongs, what can you just explain, just in case other people aren't as aware? What are the diphthongs? What are diphthongs?
Diphthongs are two vowel sounds that are joined together, or elided is the technical term. Joined or elided together. So the sound I, which is the most common mispronunciation I hear from Aussies, the I sound is the combination of ah plus E. But the difference between the American version and the Australian, well, it's kind of a twofold difference. One is that we have a connecting sound or a linking sound, the y. So instead of saying I, which is more Australian, we would say I ye, I ye. Anyone who watched Bugs Bunny will know Speedy Gonzales, the little mouse, and he says, ay, 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 ay. And you can feel
Yeah.
that little yeah happening in there. And the trick with that one is sorry, somebody just texted me. I love her to death. But anyway, one of my students in Melbourne. she
Oh no.
that I sound, you think of the personal pronoun I, the word like, the word my. We use those all the time. And if you
Yeah.
don't get that I, ye sound in there and you drop it back to I like my bike, you're either going to sound Australian or like you're from the deep south. Neither of which is ideal unless you're auditioning for True Blood or whatever. So that was one thing I heard in your voice. You need to kick up the energy in you. It's almost a 2-syllable thing for you. And honest to God, I can guarantee you on any night shoot where I'm coaching, on any film set, middle of the night, we get to 3 a.m., all the actors stop doing the I sound and they start dropping back to ah. And then I'm like, okay, ADR. So if you can train
Yeah.
yourself to get that IE sound, and that's actually quite
I.
yeah, it's a far
Yeah.
forward sound. So IE and that E sound is our brightest sound in American English. It really helps when you're tired and on set. The other sound that you were doing was AE. So again, 2 vowel sounds that are linked together. Same principle as I. We have that Y linking sound. Think of the Fonz if you're my age, or Chandler from Friends if you're a little older, and I don't know what for your generation, but
Hey, I'm with you.
Okay, good. Thank
That's Joey. You mean Joey?
you. Joey, yeah,
Joey.
Chandler.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can see even my tongue and my lips are back, E, and how my jaw comes up,
Yeah.
A, and that little lift in there, A. And my tongue, if you had a cross section of my tongue, it would be touching my upper teeth, A, when I pulled back the E sound, yeah. So that's, I heard those 2 sounds in your voice when you were freestyling it, so you need to pick up the energy in those sounds. And it's tricky when you're trying to link stuff together and you're trying to sound smooth. Those are the sounds that get lost. What do you want to do today? I like my bike. So, yeah.
So it's like an elongated, it stretches past the point of how Australians would know, because they they cut things off quite quickly, very abbreviated, like how you doing and all that sort of stuff. Like, but if Americans, it stretches it out, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, it's a regional thing. Some parts of the South, they're going to stretch it out, but it's a closer to an Australian sound. I like my bike. But I'm stretching out the ah part instead of the ye. I like my bike. That's more that mythical beast, General American again. So it depends on your character, where they're from, what they're stressing, what they're not stressing. But the trick for you in doing sort of a general American accent is to get that IE and AE, that E sound into the unstressed words. You can do it. I like my bike. You can do it as the best one. But like in I like my bike, that's where you have some difficulty, or you can do. Make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. All right, awesome. Well, so what are do you like? Is that quite a common thing that people can fall into? Like with that question I was saying before, like is that a common trap that people, as Australians particularly, can fall into when trying to do? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So how do you fix that? Is that just a practice thing? Just bang on it over and over again, or is there a method that you like, a visual or audio? Like, is there ways that you go about it, or?
Well, I just recommend what's best for the student. Certainly, as Helen was saying, daily work on it. 1 sound, 2 sounds a week until you've nailed it. 1 sound maybe. There's your rainbow unicorn farts again. And that one's tricky because that sound is spelled a number of different ways that to you looks like an O, but to us it's an Okay, unless it's work. So the word awesome, you said awesome. And in the east coast of the US, it'd be a bit more like Australia, it'd be awesome. Makes sense? So what you have to do is, if your sound of the week was the sound, you'd have to be aware that that sound is spelled about 5 different ways. It's spelled AH, A, O, OUGH, or U. So the word tall is and it's not tall, it's tall.
Tall. Tall, awesome. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. That's yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, and the word
Okay.
got.
Got.
Yeah, not.
Not. So it's. So that's interesting. And is that a placement thing as well, or is that like is that like a diphthong or a like how would you classify those?
Classified as a nightmare for a lot of people.
Including me.
It's actually it's a single vowel sound. It's the ah sound. So what is absent, or actually let's say what's present, because it's hard to work in a vacuum. So let's not talk about what's absent. Let's talk about what we do in American. It's the tongue drop and the lip, like Novocaine lips. Ah, ah. There
Ah,
you go. And then your
ah,
placement just fell right in when you dropped your tongue down.
yeah. I think the tongue is a big thing as well. Like I think well
That was
as
good.
well
That was good.
as well.
Yeah.
Okay, as well. Yeah, yeah. I think the tongue is a big thing as well because yeah, you've really got to drop it down almost like underneath the bottom of your teeth there
Yeah, say the word
to kind of
almost
make
for me
way
again. Say the word almost for me again.
almost
Ah. Same
almost
sound you're talking
almost
about. Almost.
crazy almost.
Yeah, and in that
So
case,
it's
drop the L. We don't really say the L there. Almost.
almost.
Drop the almost,
Oh, that's weird. That's crazy. That's weird. Okay.
right?
So so is it like
And,
AHMOST?
yep.
That's kind of how if you were to write it down, that's how. Okay, so almost.
Um,
Almost. Like no L whatsoever, just
um,
almost.
some people will put a bit of L in there, but because you're Australian and I do this with Brits too, and that L can really bog you down with a sound, I just say drop it because half the US drops it.
Okay, so yeah, that's fantastic. So the just to recap, just for myself and for people watching, the main things to remember is the placement, where it's coming from. So to feel where it's coming from, and to the placement of like your tongue as well, like just the almost the little subtle things they pay so much like they contribute so much to how you're eventually going to sound. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, yeah. But again, you cannot do this the night before the audition. You can't. If you
Mm,
haven't been working on it, if you've been working on it for a few weeks up to the audition and you still feel insecure, that's one thing. I mean, let yourself off the hook. But if you've just left it and left it and left it to the night before your agent sends you this rushed audition for the States, and keep in mind, we like things to go fast in the States, You might get a same day audition in the States. You will get one if you live there or move there.
mm,
And you just gotta work on it one concept at a time until you've nailed
mm.
it. So for you, I'm gonna be all over you till you get that ah sound. Um,
Ah, yeah.
Lowering your tongue is one general concept that might help some people into authenticity. If people keep saying, "Oh, it sounds almost right," then you may want to think about your tongue placement. Yeah, that could be the last step.
Right.
Usually, in my experience, placement by that stage, people have got their head around it, and it's more linking and reduction. What do you want? Where are you going?
Okay.
I got a lot of stuff, and saying I have got a lot of stuff. You know.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Because it's natural as well. Like it's what people do. Like we abbreviate and we make sentences shorter to make it easier to say.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely a thing that you got to do, and it makes it easier on yourself as well. Like it frees it up. You can jump from sentence to sentence. You don't have to feel like you've got to strictly hit every specific line and every word before you can advance onto the next word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I'm hearing in your voice is you're missing a few R's now and again when you're trying to rush through, which is why I have a sentence in the exercises I use that has multiple R's in a row just to get you to slow down and actually make that sound, that sound. The word bin, BEEN. We say bin, BIN. So BEEN, we're going to pronounce not like that, like I've just written, but we're going to pronounce it BIN, bin, always, always.
bin. Bin.
If you're in my class and you say bean, where have you been? You get the water pistol. You know what I'm saying here?
You carry a water
I
pistol?
carry a water pistol in my classes. Bin.
That's ridiculous. That's crazy. I love it. I love it.
You get wet in the winter if you say that wrong. The other, and there's no exceptions to that unless you're Canadian, and even then, like, I'll slap you. The other word that's really hard to pronounce is O-U-R, hour. Does that say cure? No, that says hour. And I've sent it twice. Hour. So there's two ways of saying that. We can make it sound like this word, but it's two syllables, definitely two syllables, hour.
Hour.
Or we just say R. Most of the time, we'll just say R.
R.
Yeah. Is that our car? So basically, in order to retrain yourself, it's like learning a new language. You just have to figure out, you have to pause. Everybody has to pause. Number one, pause and identify the sound that you're doing wrong. So in your case, the ah is going a little bit towards aw. So you're going to pause and you're going to practice that sound. That's the second step. Pause, identify the sound. Two, practice the sound. So just go ah, aw, ah, aw, and then until you can feel the difference in the muscles in your mouth and until it sounds right to you, because ultimately you have to feel this. That's something I can't do for you. I can only guide you in the right direction and make suggestions. I can't do it for you. And I wish more people would be aware of that when they're learning an accent. You have to do the work. The next thing is then you're going to put that sound into the word again once you've corrected yourself. So thought. And then you're going to mess around until it feels comfortable. And it should feel uncomfortable. If it doesn't feel uncomfortable, then the chances are good, at least at first, chances are good you're not doing it right. So thought. And then you're going to put it back in a sentence. And this is where the stressed versus unstressed comes in. What I thought you said was, or I haven't given it a thought. It depends on whether the word is stressed. So if it was, for example, the word got, what have you got there? That's very stressed. Have you got my keys? And then we're going to shorten that little ah sound and we're going to change it slightly so that it links. Have you got my keys? So we're making it lower, shorter, faster.
Cool.
Make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
My next course starts at Fox Studios here in Sydney on Thursday, as most people who've been paying any attention to my Facebook page know. And then my course after that, the next course is going to be in Parramatta in the west of Sydney from the 15th of October. I do teach via Skype, and that works just fine. You and I have been doing Skype lessons, which is great. Keep track of what works for you. And if it doesn't work, find something else. And this is about you and what you're learning from it. And I teach so differently to some other people, and other things that I do don't work for some people, and that's totally fine. It'd be really weird if everything I did worked for everybody. I'd be like, wait, what's wrong here? But yeah, please feel free to contact me, or you can contact Tom if you don't have my details. But I really just suggest, like Helen said, slow and steady, just bit by bit by bit, and things will come to you. And then one day you'll wake up and you'll realize you've been doing it, and you're going, wait, how did I get here? How did I get this good? And it really will happen if you keep putting in just tiny little bits of effort every now and then. Oh, question. This question from Aaron. I love Aaron. Barb, do you have a list of key U.S. slang joining words to look out for in a script, e.g. want to becoming wanna? Yeah, I do, Aaron. Actually, I've been compiling that since you and I have been working together. So there is a list. Just quickly, that list is words on that list. Gotta, wanna, shoulda, coulda, woulda, gonna. So we're joining everything together. Going to, want to, all of that. We're gonna take the two and make it into a schwa. Yeah. So gotta, wanna, shoulda, woulda, coulda, gonna. Those are all little joining things that we link together.
Definitely.
Best way to do it too, Aaron, to get that list going is to watch interviews with people, watch reality TV. God, I hate giving that advice. Watch reality TV, but write down the ways that they do. Write it down. What do they say? And that'll force you to pause and look at what they do. Teaching tools. Some of these books, read to children. That is a really good way to get those sounds. My favorite. Dr.
Seuss. Yeah.
Yep. Honestly, read to
Nice.
your partner, read to children, go volunteer. Equity does a reading program for kids. Read to them in American. No joke. And the reason Dr. Seuss is so good is because he wrote for beginning learners. He's hilarious. It's fun. It's really fun to take a step back into your childhood and read this stuff. But he also writes in sound groups. So fox in socks. This would be a good one for you, Tom, because instead of saying fox in socks, yeah, that was really crap. Sorry. You have to say fox in socks. Yeah.
Fox and socks.
Yeah, and then it's something really easy. It's manageable. It's a baby step, and that works really well for most people to go back that far, even if you feel a bit stupid. But one of my guys in my last course, he has 3 little boys, and he was reading Dr. Seuss to his boys in American, and it helped him to get over his imposter syndrome feeling, that kind of I'm not doing this right, and to play with the accent and also to nail those sounds. So again, whatever works.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I like it. When we do accents, we feel so bad about it a lot of the time because it's a constant process of making mistakes. Embrace that. Those mistakes that you make teach you something, and why should you be perfect? We're all just learning. Embrace that and
Exactly.
keep learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you, Barb. This is great. This is something I think everyone, like I said, everyone needs to. If they want to get there, they got to put the work in. You got to start taking the steps, even if they're small steps. You got to start taking them. And for everyone watching, thank you guys for all watching, for
Thank
your
you.
comments and questions, all that sort of stuff. Is fantastic. And yeah, have a great day, Barb.
You
We'll
too.
talk soon.
I'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye.
See you guys. Have a great day.
Bye.